So what is the overall price trend? Bearish or bullish? Hey everyone, my name is Valerin, and in this video we're going to ask GPT-4 whether or not he is bearish or bullish on Bitcoin price. We are going to do that using LangChain and a custom CSV file which contains Bitcoin historical prices up to today, 4th of April. Let's get started. If you enjoyed these videos and want to talk more about machine learning, AI, statistics, probability, etc., you can join the Discord server, which I'm going to link in the description down below. The library that we're going to use today is called LangChain, and this library allows us to connect large language models such as ChatGPT or GPT-4 with our own custom data. So this is the official documentation of the library, and this library is available in both JavaScript and Python. Today we're going to have a look at the Python documentation. So let's see, this is the official page, the getting started page. They have a very good documentation. You can see that they have use cases and they have references to the API, and also they are discussing each of the modules that the library contains. But the most important thing is probably here in the introduction. LangChain is a framework for developing applications powered by language models. So one important thing about this is that this library is actually not entirely or whatsoever connected to ChatGPT or GPT-4. You can use this library with other language models, so it's kind of a plug and play. So you can think of some sorts of components or modules that you can basically combine and achieve some result. So even if now ChatGPT or GPT-4 are probably state-of-the-art models that you can use, probably in the future you might want to try something else, and those other models might be free, so you might not have to pay to OpenAI or other company. So you can still use LangChain in order to create your own applications. The data that we're going to use today is available on Kaggle, and it's called Cryptocurrencies Daily Prices. It's provided by Steven, and it is very frequently updated. As you can see, this one is updated 11 hours ago, and this contains Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency since 2009. And you can see here that we have a lot of CSV files that contain the historical data. Currently, I'm showing you the Bitcoin CSV file, which we're going to use in this video. Here we have the ticker, which is BTC for Bitcoin. And then we have the date on which the price was recorded. And then you essentially have an opening, high, low, and close price. So you can maybe draw out some chart candles. I have an empty Google Colab notebook, which is already connected, and this notebook doesn't need to use any GPUs. Let's start by installing some libraries. We are going to use LangChain, then I'm going to install the OpenAI API, and finally I'm going to get python.env since I want to essentially use my API key from OpenAI in order to run the experiments here. So first, let's install the LangChain library, and it's the current version is 1.00131. Next, I'm going to install OpenAI library 0.27.3, and these are the most current versions of those libraries. And finally, the python.env library, which is version 1.0. After the libraries are installed, I'm going to continue with getting the environment file, which I'm going to take for the OpenAI API key. First, I need to mount my drive, and I'm going to show you why. And while this is happening, I'm going to copy from my drive I have a file called .def.env, and then I have another one called example.def, which I'm going to show you. Let's copy those files. And here are the files. So def.env should look exactly like this, but you must put your API key right here. So this is just an example file. Once this is done, I need to download the Bitcoin prices or the data that we're going to use. This is again from my Google Drive, but this will be also available to you. Next, I'm going to continue with adding some imports here. Then I'm going to import some thing from the LangChain library. The first one is going to be the create CSV agent. Then I'm going to import the OpenAI. So I have a typo here. Then I'm going to also import from chat models chat OpenAI. We will use this for GPT-4. And then I'm going to also import display and markdown. So I'm going to use some little markdown in order to show you some things related to the LangChain library. Let's run through this. Okay, so the imports are very quick. Next, I'm going to import the API key using the .env library. I'm going to call load.env, and here I'm going to pass in def.env, and I'm going to pass in the override true. So this will load the API key into the environment. The data that we're going to use is somewhat pre-processed version of the Kaggle repository. I basically went ahead and took all of the Bitcoin prices for 2022 and 2023, at least up to this time. And if you want to have a look at how I did the pre-processing, I'm going to include all of those steps within the text tutorial that will be available on ML Expert. So let's continue with loading the data. So the data is called btcdailyprice.csv. And let's have a look at some rows from it. And you can see that I've modified this quite a bit. So I essentially took the closing price, and from the date I've extracted a couple of components: the day, the month with essentially the name of the month, then the year, and then the day of the week as a name again. So this is the data that we are going to pass in to ChatGPT, or the agent model that we are going to use. So let's see how many rows do we have here. And columns. 5 columns, we have roughly 460 rows of data, 458. Now that we have loaded the data, we need some way to tell LangChain the file that we are going to use and connect that to GPT-3, 3.5 or 4. So in order to do that, I'm going to use the create CSV agent function. And this is essentially a way to provide the CSV file provided by LangChain library, of course, and then interact with this CSV file using the OpenAI library or another model. To create the agent, we are going to use the create CSV agent function, as I've already told you. And this one wants an LLM, so it's a base large language model, then some path, and then we have some keywords. So what I'm going to pass in here is going to be the OpenAI model. And you can see right here in the documentation that the model name is actually Text DaVinci 003. So in this case, I'm going to use this model, which is an older version. But I've also tried GPT 3.5 or ChatGPT, and it appeared to be breaking the library at the current time. So that's not very advisable. And I've also tried GPT-4, which works much better even compared to this model. So I'm going to continue with creating agents for both of those models. But let's start with this one. So for the temperature, I'm going to pass in 0 in order to reduce the randomness of the model. And then I'm going to pass in the path, which is essentially this CSV file. And as a final parameter, I want verbose equal to true. So this will essentially output a bit more information when we are interacting with it. And I'm going to call this agent. This is the default one. And then I'm going to create another one, which is going to be the GPT-4 agent. And instead of creating this OpenAI, I'm going to create chat OpenAI instance. I'm going to keep the temperature. All right. And this one actually is using GPT 3.5 or ChatGPT as a default. And I'm going to specify that I want this to be the GPT-4 model. And I'm going to run through those. Okay, so everything, it appears to be working. Now I'm going to just show you a lot of data from the agent or the values that it contains. And it's a bit hard to look through this, but essentially we have the model name. This is confirming that we are using Text DaVinci 0.03. And then one important thing that you can see right here is actually part of the data that we are giving it. So it already knows that we are working with this specific data. So yeah, it appears that we are getting the columns and then some values of those. And another important thing right here is the fact that this is given some template or a prompt. And we're going to have a look at this prompt in a second. But this looks really interesting. So to get to the prompt, I'm going to call the agent, then the LLM chain. Don't worry if you don't know what this means, at least for now. And here is the prompt. It's a bit not well formatted, so I'm going to format the prompt using Markdown. Prompt template. Let's work through this. So this is the default prompt that the library is giving us. You're working with a Pandas data frame in Python. So when we're working with this CSV file, the initial prompt to the model that we're using is going to be this one. And it's already giving it context about that we are looking or working with a data frame called DF. And then it is providing tools in order to answer the question posed to you. So the tool that it is provided is actually a Python interpreter or a REPL. And in this case, it is given the instruction that you should actually write some code, which is very interesting, and then use the following format. Question. The input question you must answer told. You should always think about what to do. Action. The action to take should be one of Python REPL. Okay, so it's getting a question, then thinking about it, and then deciding on what code to write essentially. And then it is giving an input, an observation. So what is the result? So this is a step-by-step process. And then if it now knows the final answer, so this can be repeated n times, however it is needed. And then after it knows that the final answer is given, it is provided that it can print essentially the answer. And then begin, and then the first question, and then this scratch path, which is essentially going to be the run through the Python repo that is providing right here. So this is a really interesting way to do prompt engineering, and it is essentially giving you a way to apply some tools in order to do something, because I've tried to essentially load this data with LangChain and provide a CSV file. And after I've tried this, actually the prompts within the embeddings, etc., didn't appear to be working very well. But what I'm going to show you now, it is working extremely well. Now that we have the data loaded and our agent has understanding of it, we can simply start ask questions about the data. We can start by asking a very basic question. So to do that, I'm going to ask agent.run or call this. And the first very basic question is how many rows and columns do we have within the data. So this will tell us if it is know what the data is at all. How many rows and columns the data has. And even with my not perfect English, yeah, you can see that it is taking an action, which is df.shape, and then this is the response or the output from the df.shape, which is the tuple. It is essentially writing the code for that, and then the data has the exactly correct number of rows and columns. So let me double check this. Yeah, just to make sure that we are actually doing something that is correct. So at least for now, it looks that it is working and it is writing code for us. So let's try something a bit more advanced. I'm going to ask what is the average price during February 2023. So recall that we have the data for 2022 and the data up until 4th of April 2023. So what is the average price during February 2023? And then it started to execute. So this is what it did. It did a filtering or selection just to take the month of February and then the year 2023. It took the price column and then called the mean value. And then it got this number. And the answer that is giving us is the average price during February 2023 is this number. Let's essentially get this and try to execute it. So yeah, we're getting essentially the same result. So again, very well done. So the next question is going to be, what is the difference between the price during February and March? This is somewhat more involved, and it shouldn't be just one liner or not as simple one liner as this one. So let's continue asking questions about the data. This is mind-blowing actually. What is the difference between the price during February and March 2023? Again, a bit more involved, but okay. So what it did, it took the mean price from February and then it took the mean price from March, and then it came up with this number, which is around 2k or 1.8k, and then it says that the difference is negative 1800. So let's run this. It looks to be correct. Just to make sure. Yeah, exactly this number. And then it did the rounding for us. Pretty mind-blowing, actually. So the next question that I'm going to ask is, what is the percentage increase from 2023 to 2022 to 2023? A bit more complex question again. What is the price increase from 2022 to 2023? So this is what it did. It grouped the data frame by year and took the mean price. And as you can see, the mean price for 2022 was much higher, which is expected. So next, it took the same for the 2023. And then it says that the average price, or the increase from 2022 to 2023, is actually the average price for each year. And we are down from the average of 2022 to 2023, we are down roughly 18%, which is very interesting. Let's do this for, let's say, January and February during 2023. So I'm going to ask, what is the price percent or percentage change from average price in January versus February 2023? So the mean price, yeah. So this is the output or the thought process. First, it took January, the mean price for that, for 2023. Then it took the same thing for February. And then it calculated the percentage based on the January date. So on average, we get 15% increase. Very interesting, right? So let's try something a bit more advanced still. Let's calculate the moving average price with a lag of 1 week during 2023. Note that we are continuously adding more and more constraints to the model. What is the moving average of the price with lag of 1 week during 2023? So let's see what it's doing. It knows about the rolling or the rolling mean function, or the combination of rolling and mean from Pandas. It is converting this into this data frame, and then it takes, this is the mean. I now know the final answer. So how did it came up with this? Okay, let's see how GPT-4 is responding to this question. GPT-4 agent. Let's run through this, the exact same question, and let's compare if we're getting the same number. So sometimes this errors out, but let's try it again. And third time, just in case. Okay, so GPT-4 is not giving us any response to this. That's all right, at least for now. Okay. So the next question is going to be, well, it's interesting how did it came up with this number, but I'm going to continue with the next question. So I'm going to ask it which days of the week the price dropped the most. So what it is doing, it is essentially getting the mean value of each day of the week. Friday has the lowest average price, so it dropped the most. I'm not really sure that this is the case because it's just taking the averages, so it's not doing essentially the correct thing here. Let's ask GPT-4 about this same question, and let's see if we get a different result. Hopefully it works this time. Probably not. Okay, so it appears to be working this time. Let's see. All right. So as you can see, it's a bit slower, but it is doing an entirely different thing. It is actually doing a new column called price difference. So it's taking the diff between the current and the previous day, and then grouping by the date of day of week, and taking the minimum price difference. Yeah, it appears that this hang out in a while. Okay, the days of the week with the most significant price drops are Friday, Monday, Saturday. So yeah, it is basically giving us the most price drops happen on Friday and then on Monday. So very, very interesting. And hopefully did this correctly. Let me run through this. And group it. I'm just taking the code from GPT-4. Yeah, so we get exactly the same numbers. And yeah, we're grouping by day of week and then taking the price difference and the minimum value of this. Wow. So yeah, as you can see, GPT-4 is much more advanced when talking about some serious queries that require much more analysis on the data. I'm going to ask essentially the same thing, but which days of the week the price. So which day of the week is the best to buy? Which is essentially the same question. Let's run the original agent. Which day of the week is the best to buy? So what it is doing, it is again giving us the average for each day of the week, which is wrong. And then the GPT-4 agent, let's see what we get here. I need to get the average price for each day of the week and find the day with the lowest average. Okay, so it's actually correct. Yeah, even this one. So yeah, you would essentially want to buy on the cheapest possible price. And yeah, one way to approach this is to just take the average. So it appears to be doing just that. I'm fine with that. And then, but let's actually let's actually run this once more through the GPT-4, and let's see if we get another response here. If we don't, I'm going to continue with the next one. Okay, so GPT-4 is not very responsive when we talk about this one. So next I'm going to ask which day or what day was the best one to buy. So I'm going to just ask it which day had the minimum price of Bitcoin, and it appears to be, yeah, it appears to be November 21st, 2022. Let's just get this just to confirm. That's the minimum price. And then let's run this and just take the row. Yeah, it appears that it is correct. And this is the price difference that I've also added right here. So the next question is going to be, what date was the best to sell during 2023? Let's see what it's doing. I need to find the highest price in 2023. All right. The best date to sell during 2023 was the date with the highest price, which was... So it doesn't appear to give us the date specifically. Let's run through this with GPT-4. Okay, first it takes the 2023 year. Now I have a data frame with only rows from 2023. So it is looking for the max price row. Then it is taking the day, the month, and the year. But that's interesting. It is giving us essentially this template and not the day, the month, and the year. But yeah, actually, let's get this. It somewhat went and gave us the correct response, but failed at the final step. Let's run this. Okay, it appears to be working, but I'm going to just print those. 1st of April 2023. All right. This is the day with the highest price, or the date with the highest price, so I agree with that. Finally, or one of the next question is going to be how much the price percentage has increased since November 21, 2022. So recall that this is the date on which the price was the lowest. Let's run this. So let's look through the query. I need to find the price on November and compare it to the current price. All right, so it took November 21st. All right, this is the correct price. I need to find the current price. So it's taking the first price from the date frame. This is entirely wrong. So it says that it's 200%, but that's incorrect. So let's call GPT-4. And let's look through the response from it. Okay, to answer this question, I need to find the price on November 21, 2022 and the last available price in the date frame. Okay, so interesting. Okay, so it's getting the date with the correct day of the week. Then it is taking the last price, which is on April 3rd, which is correct. And this is the price. So it is subtracting from this price on April, this on November 21st, and then normalizing this. The price has increased 76.24%. Very good compared to the TextDaVinci 0.003. Okay, so the final question, or probably the most important one, maybe I'll give you a bonus on this one, actually. So what is the overall price trend? Bearish or bullish? Let's see the TextDaVinci 003 is giving us that the overall price trend is bearish, and it is giving us this chart. I don't know what this chart means. We have days, and then we have some prices. I'm not sure what it is doing behind this, but this is essentially the plot. Thought I can see the trend in the graph. Man, that's really interesting. It sees the trend within the graph. Wow. Let's ask GPT-4 and let's see the response from it. To determine the overall price trend, I will calculate the price change from the first day to the last day in the data frame. Okay, another entirely different approach. The price has dropped 20,000 bucks from the first day to the last day. This indicates an overall bearish trend. So, according to GPT-4, the current data suggests, even after this simple calculation, it suggests that the trend is still bearish, at least for Bitcoin price. Okay, so I promised you a bonus, and let's ask this question. What do you think? So let's formulate it in a bit of other way. What will be the price of BTC on, let's say, May 31, 2023, using the data you have? You must give me a single number. Okay, let's see. Okay, I need to find the price of BTC on May 31, 23. And then it found. So we don't have such data. Okay, so let's see. Guess if I change the prompt. Okay, so what it did is took the 23, it's a none, and then went to 22 and found the mean value. Okay, of May 2022. Let's see if we ask GPT-4. So what it did is to just take the mean value, which is probably a very reasonable estimation. Let's try another one. Let's try another one. Okay, to predict the price of BTC on May 31. Okay, it started very interestingly. So here is the idea. It didn't complete the prompts. To predict the price of BTC, we can calculate the average daily price increase or decrease and multiply it by the number of days between the most recent date in the data frame and May 31. Then add the result to the most recent price. Alright, so this is a strategy that GPT-4 is giving us in order to predict the price of Bitcoin for this particular date. You might want to have a look at how you can do this. In this video, we've seen how we can use the LangChain library with a custom CSV file that contains Bitcoin prices for 2022 and then 2023. And we used all of this in order to create a CSV agent. Then we basically started asking questions to TextDaVinci 003 or GPT-4. And we've asked a lot of questions about the data. And you've seen that actually those models are performing somewhat incredible on some of the queries, and they fail on some of the other queries, even GPT-4. So take that for what you will, but those types of queries on custom data appear to be working at least are very interesting to me, and they appear to be performing incredible tasks. Man, we just witness how those models can write Pandas code and create queries and then give us results. And they essentially did the planning and then the execution and then output parsing just for us. So that's pretty mind blowing, according to me at least. So thanks for watching, guys. I am going to leave a Discord link or Discord server link or link to a Discord in the description down below. If you have any questions or want to join the ML expert community, please go there. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.